The purpose of this channel is to bring the latest news and information to the Commonwealth. I also want to raise awareness and bring education to the stigma that's in the cannabis community. Please medicate and consume responsibly. Welcome back to Virginia Cannabis Connection. As always, I'm your guy on the couch, Joe Parsons. We'll get started this week with the news. As reported last week, two Virginia bills, one from District 16's Paul Kryzik and District 22's Aaron Rouse, have both been given preliminary approval in their respective chambers. There are vast differences in the two Democratic-led bills that lawmakers will ultimately have to hammer through before sending either of them to Governor Youngkin's desk. During a voice vote on Monday, the Senate gave initial approval to SB 448 from Senator Aaron Rouse. A final vote to get the bill sent to the House of Delegates is expected by the end of the week. Earlier, the same day, the House voted 52-48 on the third reading for the final passage of the competing bill led by District 16's Paul Kryzik. His HB 698 has been a work in progress, but has the support of both Marijuana Justice and the Virginia chapter of NORML. As reported last week, the highlights for HB 698 include allowing existing medical operators to start operating in adult use by January of 2025, as long as they pay $400,000 to 6 microbusinesses through a proposed accelerator program. This bill also caters to equity-focused businesses as well. The tax rate is awesome at only 9%. However, outdoor cultivation would not be allowed. The bill introduced by Senator Aaron Rouse, SB 448, does not give any medical companies an advantage and allows for an equal and fair entry for anyone to obtain a license. However, the tax rate is twice the state's measure of 17.5%. That breaks down to 12.5% state excise tax, up to a 3.5% local tax for local counties to possibly impose. This does, however, include a 1.125 portion that goes directly to K through 12 education. Also, smaller operators could grow outdoors, and larger companies would have to grow inside. The bills are expected to move into their opposite chambers by next week. Both bills have made significant changes since both were introduced, and further amendments are very possible before they get sent to the governor. As reported last week, unless a palatable bill is introduced, the governor will likely veto the bill, as he has made it known that he doesn't plan to negotiate or pass any Democratic-led bills on the recreational cannabis market. In other Virginia news, also on Monday, a similar canna bill, HB 696, finally got passed by a narrow margin. This bill would allow for resentencing of certain cannabis crimes. This would allow many people to have their records cleared, and many of their rights would be regained that were lost due to felony convictions. More on this as it develops. And finally, some well-deserved justice may be coming to parents that have lost custody due to cannabis alone. The bill, SB 115, got unanimous approval last week to move forward. Besides not allowing marijuana alone to be evidence of child abuse or neglect, it would also not allow THC to be allowed as a substance of concern for the Department of Health and Human Services in a drug test, meaning that a cannabis drug test alone won't allow them to revoke custody or revoke visitation. I've heard horror stories of people who have lost their children due to THC on a drug screen. This bill is as important to parents as HB 698 is to social equity, as one of the stigmas that plague our community is a fear of losing your children just because you choose to be a responsible adult use supporter or a cannabis patient. The fear of the state has pushed so many in need into the closet and has caused a lot of social anxiety, as they fear that anyone finding out could cost me one of my children. I'll keep you posted on this one for sure, as it's definitely important. And now some positive news from New Jersey. It's been 2 years since New Jersey launched an adult use program and has met a new milestone with now 102 medical and adult use dispensaries running. Governor Phil Murphy has been impressed with this progress. He's also been impressed with the revenue that has been generated since the launch of adult use. He gave praise about the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission for their dedicated work and leadership in this critical area of the New Jersey economy. It's impressive to see a state that can truly see the market potential in the industry. What's even more refreshing is a governor and a state house that turned a once was 12 alternative treatment centers that ran for 8 years to the now 40 medical and recreational shops, 12 medical only, and 50 recreational only cannabis shops in only 2 years. Excellent work and progress. You should all take a bow. And on a side note, you know, Governor Youngkin, you're probably not listening to me right now because I'm only a small independent activist with just a couple handfuls of followers. But give me some time, sir. If enough people can help spread the word, then one day you'll have to listen to us. And please, sir, just look around at your neighbors. Look at how an adult use program can bring so much to the economy. It brings a whole new job market with thousands of jobs just waiting to be filled. Some who have been told that they are worthless and they're never going to amount to anything only because they support or use cannabis. It brings money for improvements like roads and schools and infrastructure, and it helps break down barriers that have plagued our society for almost 55 years. You know, I hate to quote a fictional character, but as Andy Dufresne once said, "Are you obtuse?" Anyway, hats off to New Jersey. One day we're going to get there, trust and believe. Virginia will get there. And now some news from our northern neighbor, Maryland. Only a week after the Senate Judicial Proceedings Committee took up the legislation, the members decided to pass a new firearms bill meant to protect the rights of medical cannabis patients in Maryland. This bill is being sponsored by Mike McKay. It would protect the rights for registered cannabis patients to buy, own, or carry a firearm through the Maryland state law, even though they're still restricted under federal law. This bill is a huge advancement for the cannabis community, not just in Maryland, but for everyone. First, in case you didn't know it, if you're a cannabis patient anywhere in the United States, and I mean absolutely anywhere, it is against federal law to buy, register, own, get gifted, or basically in any way have a firearm in your home or on your person. Technically, it's also illegal to do any of the aforementioned things if you consume cannabis recreationally as well. That's some scary information once you get the grasp of it. One of the reasons it's been swept under the rug for so long is because cannabis is still being classified as a Schedule I drug. So on a federal level, you can be fined or imprisoned for having a registered firearm if you even use cannabis. Due to the years of fear stigma placed on cannabis, the government has systematically programmed people to think that people that use cannabis are criminals. People that use cannabis are either in gangs or in cartels, and that people that use cannabis are just bad people in general. Maryland is one of the first states with an adult use program to take action. The same way it uses state government to have a retail cannabis market, it's using its state power to get around the very negative and very outdated firearms law. It's bold, it's ballsy, and quite frankly, I like it. I like it a lot. More states should look at this as an example, as it also protects your constitutional rights to possess a weapon. Here's a true story for you. My mother was a diehard to the end conservative, and I mean it. She was red through and through. 5 days before she passed away, we got into an argument about Tucker Carlson. I told her he was a creepy, judgmental person that would ultimately get fired because of his wild theories and rhetoric. She thought he was a tell-it-like-it-is conservative hero that would be the voice of a new generation. Sadly, she died less than a year before he was fired, and she would have owed me $5. But anyway, she loved her guns. She had a concealed weapons permit. She made weekly trips to the firing range until she couldn't go anymore. She left me a small arsenal when she passed away. A couple of rifles, a bunch of handguns, an assault-style shotgun, and even an AR-15. Safe to say she was ready for anything down from a home invasion all the way to a zombie apocalypse. But as a responsible cannabis patient and as an activist, I tried to obey the law. I had to give away all of my guns to my dear sweet aunt, as to not be a hypocrite and to not break federal law. It was sad news for me, but great for Aunt Bonnie. And by the way, breaking into her house would definitely be a big mistake. One of the worst parts is that it leaves cannabis patients who grow their own supplies at risk for theft, as all of your friends will eventually find out that you just harvested a crop of 4 pounds. Well, word gets out the way that words often do, and criminals know that you ain't got no guns. So it's going to be open season on you and your family. It's the same thing for business owners. With a license comes the cost of no weapons, meaning you have to pay out the nose for private security officers. So again, hats off to Maryland. I definitely hope this one passes on. On a side note, I usually leave party stance out of anything news related. I try to always shoot straight up the middle. But in this case, I have to point out that this was a Republican led bill. It's funny how quickly Republicans will act when they feel that their cause is just. Like anything that has to do with keeping their guns, they will attack aggressively and swiftly. It sounds like our Virginia Republican senators should actually work with Democrats to add a gun control policy to the past canna bills. Then maybe, just maybe, Governor Youngkin will allow one to pass, as it would not be an entirely Democratic led bill and would have conservative values. That's just a thought there. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Do you think it's wrong to strip all cannabis users of their rights to bear arms? Well, that's the news for this week. Keep sharing and pass the word on to more people so that one day we can have all of our constitutional rights protected and maybe have additional amendments made to protect the rights of not just patients, but all responsible adult use consumers.